I hope everyone feels blessed this morning. If not blessed, at least well. If not well, at least alive. um, I'm going to keep this morning message pretty short because I know that Monday is usually a work day for most people and you don't have too much time to stare at your phone. But something that I did want to touch on briefly this morning is just the idea of when to float and when to swim. Because I noticed that a lot of times we exert our energy going against the natural flow and pattern of our lives. So when we're in hard times or when we're in troubled water, so to speak, a lot of our natural reaction is to flounder in it. You know, you're trying to save yourself from drowning. So in the process of trying to save yourself from drowning, you're flailing your arms, you're flailing all your limbs, you're gasping for air, but you're also exerting a lot more energy than you need to. So it's good for us to know in our situations and in our lives when is the appropriate moment to swim, to fight harder, to keep going, to swim to shore, and when it's a good idea to just float on your back. It's okay. You don't have to try so hard sometimes. I know that it's hard to say that because we want things to go our way. We want things to go our way within our own timeline. We want things to happen the way that we project them to. We want them to happen the way that we imagine them to. But we have to know that although that we are a key component to manifesting the things that happen in our lives, there are also millions of other things that are happening at the same time as our own manifestations, and there are other people's manifestations that are affecting ours, and it's just a natural flow of life. So everything isn't going to always go perfectly the way that we think they should go, but things are always perfectly going the way that they should be. Because if we can remove our expectations from a situation, especially our situation, which is the hardest thing to do, is to remove our own expectations for ourselves. But when we can remove the expectation and realize that there are certain things that will happen within the spectrum and the scope of our lives that are meant to happen, no matter how badly we did not want to go through them, there are things and there are building blocks that are constantly pushing us forward and propelling us on the path that we're supposed to be on. The problem happens when we don't accept where we are. A lot of people have an issue accepting where they are in their lives, which is okay to a certain extent because, of course, you always want to be motivated to want more. You know, you always want better for your life. And I'm not saying that's a problem, but the problem is when we force things to happen. You know, if we feel and sense that we're in troubled water and we're in a heavy river with a lot of current and we're going against the current because we want something so badly, we have to realize that those motions, when we don't float, when life gives us signs of floating, then we actually make things harder for ourselves. We create little roadblocks for ourselves, actually. In the end, sometimes when we don't pay attention to do nothing and to wait and to be patient, when we ignore those things and we go against that grain and we start acting outside of our path to force things to happen, we actually prolong our journey because now life has to catch up with your actions to get you back to a state of equilibrium. And sometimes equilibrium doesn't always feel so balanced. And that's another thing that we have to realize. Balance doesn't always necessarily feel like, oh my gosh, life is going so great for me right now. That's not always balance. Balance sometimes is some kicks in the ass and being okay with the kicks in the ass. That's kind of a balance. Because we need to, A, gain the strength, the endurance, and the learning lesson. The worst thing that you can do for yourself is ignore the endurance, the opportunity for strength and the opportunity for a learning lesson in your hard time. And instead of realizing that there's a learning lesson and a building exercise being sent to you in sometimes an unfavorable or unpleasant situation, some people dwell on that unfavorable and unpleasant situation and they make things much harder for themselves. Instead of recognizing it, looking it in the face, accepting it, and moving forward. And sometimes moving forward means not doing a damn thing. Because sometimes you dig yourself much deeper into holes you were never supposed to be in. You have to be patient. Look at your situation. Everybody's situation is different. Some people might be in a situation right now that says swim, exert that energy. You're almost there. Go harder. And there are some people in a situation right now where everything is piled up on top of you and you need to be still. You need to take some time to accept where you are. I mean, truly accept where you are, because that is the hardest part. You know, like, I know that everybody can relate to financial issues. So I'll use that as an example. You might be having financial problems right now. You might be like, there are bills, I'm not working enough hours, I'm in debt, or whatever the case may be. And you're exerting so much of your energy. You're already working as many hours as you can work. There is literally nothing more that you can do in this situation other than float on your back, accept where you are, and stop stressing yourself out about things that you cannot control. If you are not in control of your finances, stop stressing out about it, because one, the stress about your monetary situation is only going to make your monetary situation worse. Because I always have to go back and forth with people about the law of attraction, and the energy that you put out is the energy that you're going to get back in. So if you're in a situation of financial struggle right now, the best thing you can do for yourself is start claiming financial wellness. The best thing that you can do for yourself is start saying the opposite of what your physical situation appears to be. If you don't have money right now, the worst thing that you could say for yourself is, I'm broke. That's actually going to perpetuate the cycle, and the universe is going to continuously give things back to you that reflect you being broke. You're not going to get unbroke continuously saying that you're broke. No matter how true that may feel at this point in time, that's not something that you need to claim. You know, elders always used to say, in especially biblical sense, life and death comes from the power of the tongue. And I take nothing from that, because that is very true. It's no different than what magic and spells are. It's the intention that you put behind your words, that energy that you put behind your words. And depending on the energy that you put behind your words is the energy and the strength that you're going to get back. So if you're in situations that aren't the best situations for you right now, the worst thing you can do in that time is to wallow in yourself, to wallow in self-pity. You're doing yourself the worst disfavor you could ever do. And to be quite honest, you are prolonging your own situation. If you are in negative times, I understand. We have all been there. We have all been through some negative stuff. I feel you. But the worst thing that you can do about it is constantly talk about the negativity that you're feeling, because you're giving power to it. A lot of people don't understand what that means. When you give power to a feeling, when you give power to something, you're literally handing over your energy to a lower dimensional feeling or emotion. And then that's what's going to start to spin out. That's what's going to start to play out. Not the positive things that we want, but the things that we're talking about, the things that we think about the most. Those are the things that are going to outwardly manifest for ourselves. So again, hard times, there's two options. You either float on your back, float on your fucking back and stop complaining and realizing that you're making things work for yourself. Float, accept it, float and accept, and wait for the current to change. Wait for the tide to change. And other people that are in situations where you're almost close to the shore, you better keep swimming. The shit is hard. I feel you. But there is literally a few more laps left to go. So you could either prematurely start floating and still mess yourself up, or you could swim a little bit hard. But that goes back to the idea of intuition and feeling self and spending the most time with yourself and your own thoughts as you can. Because the greater you know yourself, the easier it is for you to determine whether or not you're supposed to be swimming or floating. If you don't know how to interpret your own feelings, you're not going to know when to float or swim. So really, the first foundational step is getting to know yourself. Know yourself. And a part of knowing yourself is separating yourself from the ideas of other people. I spent a lot of time in isolation. And that time in isolation was not just simply because I'm afraid of human beings and I'm antisocial. No, that time spent in isolation is simply because you need to get closest to your own thoughts. You have to detox. I am completely against media and television and music altogether, but if you listen to TV and movies and things or whatever, but detox from media. You have to detox from media because these are things that are not you to think for yourself. These are things that are causing you to think outside of your own high intentions. You're having other thoughts. So be in tune with yourself as you possibly can be. And being to yourself is things that keep being in tune with yourself. Now my video is spamming and it's freezing because I told you guys to not watch TV. Great. The idea is get closer to you. The closer you are to you, the closer you are to your thoughts. The closer you are to your thoughts, the easier for you to determine what you're supposed to do in your own life. So do what you're supposed to do with your life by getting closer to yourself. When you get closer to yourself, you can actually determine your own feelings. You can determine how you feel. You know the right path. You can see clearly. You can feel it. You can go for it in your heart. And a lot of people are so disconnected to their own thoughts and their heart and their own intentions and their own feelings, so busy living for other people, so busy being influenced by others, so busy being influenced by that you forget what you are like. You forget who you are. You forget about yourself. It's so easy to be distracted. It's so easy to not follow your path. It's so easy to go off of what somebody else says. It's so easy for somebody else to knock you off your own game because you're far detached from what you are doing, what you're supposed to be doing, what you're supposed to be feeling. So get to know your thoughts. Get to know your feelings, and the emphasis on your thoughts and your feelings. Get to know those, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of thoughts and feelings that are not our own. Take some time to write a list about the things that you believe in, and you do a web chart or a connect the dots or whatever you need to do. See what thoughts you and beliefs you have, and then ask yourself, where did it come from? By the way, where did I pick up this idea? Is this my own idea, or is this somebody else's idea? Is this a family idea, or is this an idea that came from friends? Is it for the sense of myself, or is it in the sense of watching? Is this something that I feel because it's something I'm listening? Really get to know the base of your life. Really know where those things are coming from. Really, truly understand if you're on your path or the path somebody else set for you. So I'm going to be the moral of the story is get yourself. Understand your path. Understand to you, and filter out everything else. And don't exert too much energy drowning when you don't need to drown. No one needs to drown. Learn when to float. It's a very important concept. No one should be drowning in their own pain. No one should be drowning in their own situation. No one should be drowning at all in their lives if you learn when to float. So please learn when to float. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you, Facebook, for scrambling my videos like you usually do. I love and appreciate you still. Have a blessed day. Be well. Be well to somebody else. Understand that your words do affect your life, and your words and your thoughts affect those around you. So if you want to see change in your life. Be that.